John Petrolino is on next.
But first, we are so proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates. They offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. Join them today. Members get great prices and free shipping. Learn more about them at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com.
All right, our guest is John Petrolino. You know John from he's actually an author, and he writes a lot of articles, especially for bearingarms.com, all Second Amendment related. And John is just a fantastic friend of the show. He's real super helpful with San Diego County Gun Owners, Orange County Gun Owners, Riverside County Gun Owners, San Bernardino County Gun Owners. Great guy, gentleman, scholar, and a fine judge of Scotch. John Petrolino, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, Michael?
Good, man. It's good to hear you.
Yeah, it's great to be on the show. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So you're an author. You write articles. Describe to people what it is you do.
Okay, so I do write articles. I write for Bearing Arms and Ammo Land News. So it depends on which one of those sites I'm working for at the time, but I work on both. I also do some blog entries for the JM4 Tactical blog. That's a holster company in Texas. And I also have a book out called Decoding Firearms, which I think you're familiar with a little bit. Very
familiar. Love that book. It's kind of the ultimate manual for gun owners. It's new gun owners, experienced gun owners. It's kind of a reference. It's an educational manual. It's excellent, really excellently done. Big fan.
No, I definitely appreciate it. It's something I put together that I wanted to be able to give to students. And it's funny because it was supposed to be like a handout, a free pamphlet. When I sat down and I started to make all my notes, it was based off of a syllabus that I had written. And when I got done with everything that I thought this handout or pamphlet should have in it, it turned out to be a 266-page book. So I said, well,
it's a bit of that's a big pamphlet.
Exactly. And so that's how Decoding Firearms came about. And I cover handguns, rifles, and shotguns in there. So it's not discriminatory to one platform or the other. And it's your basic elementary information. So it's for the new people to get them up on their feet and hopefully also motivate them to get some training.
Okay, so you write a lot of different articles. Excellent work. I really enjoy your work. I'll bet you a lot of people have read your work without even knowing that it was you, which is why I really wanted to bring you on the air and introduce you to people so that people can not just read your articles because they follow the Ammo Land and Bearing Arms. I want them to seek out your work because it is well worth it. It's extremely well done and it's very informative. So what's an article recently that we have to hear about? What's something that's extremely important that you wrote about that we need to know?
There's a couple of things that I have, and this one issue, it's kind of evergreen, and I approach it every so often. And this one came out August 18th, so it's a little bit older. It's a couple weeks old, but the title of the article is "The Time to Be an Advocate is Now," and this article talks about why it's important to not just be informed, but also to be an advocate, and some of the things that we can do to be an advocate. So, for example, the first point that I make in there is talking about the National Second Amendment organizations. There are a whole slew of them. We know what they are. We should know what they are. There's the NRA, obviously, the Second Amendment Foundation, Firearms Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America, and there's a couple other ones as well. Those are the main ones. I'm just using those as examples. I'm not playing favorites to one or the other. But that's something that people should be doing at minimum for advocacy, is to join these groups that are going to support and defend our civil rights.
So what are some of the, and that's, by the way, advocacy is something that we talk about a lot. San Diego County Gun Owners, all the different gun owner packs in Southern California, enough pontificating, enough meme making. We want you to get involved. We want you to actually do something that is productive and important. So why so big fan of the article, but why now? Like what's happening right now that hey, this is the time to get involved?
Well, I mean, as we should all be aware, and the listeners should be acutely aware of this at least, we are absolutely under attack on a national level. We are getting it from so many different directions. While we might be gaining a lot of ground in many states, not all states, but we are getting some victories in some states. Like, it's great to see things like permitless carry pass, and states that are passing sanctuary status. But on the federal level, we have these attacks from the ATF. We have these legislative attacks. All of these things that are happening, and especially the stuff that's happening on the executive, which it shouldn't be. We shouldn't be ruling through executive, but we are with the current administration. All of these things are going to take money in the form of lawsuits. So those big organizations and groups like San Diego County Gun Owners and all of the affiliate California groups and the state-level organizations, these are all really important things to be engaged with. So, like, we can do, like you said, make the memes and talk about the silly boating accidents. That's all fun and games, but at minimum, start sending some money to these groups because they are doing the heavy lifting for us.
Now, I mean, if I were, negative, if I were a glasses half empty guy, I'd say, John, it's over. It's just a matter of time. They keep winning. There's no way we can, especially here in California. We're so outnumbered. Why is there a light at the end of the tunnel, or why does the future look bright when it comes to the Second Amendment?
Well, if we all had that attitude, it would be a self-fulfilling prophecy because none of us would do anything, and then we wouldn't be able to stop it. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? I do believe there is, and this is going to come in a multitude of ways. We have a lot of positive things that have moved up to the Supreme Court. We're waiting on the carry-related case that's supposed to be heard. The New York State Rifle Pistol Association is supposed to be heard November 3rd in the Supreme Court, and that's going to be a big case. Hopefully with that case will come instructions that the lower courts are supposed to be listening to these cases involving the Second Amendment under strict scrutiny. That is the slam dunk that we would need. We would need them to overthrow the carry law in New York, and then, in effect, we would be able to attack all the other bad statutes throughout all the other states. And if they were to say strict scrutiny is necessary, I do believe that will help us in our litigation. Also, the midterms are right around the corner, and I think that there's a fair chance that more freedom-oriented or Second Amendment-loving legislators will be put into and or kept in office because of the number of people that are seeing what goes along with those that wish to take away our freedoms. I think people are really starting to see the light there. And then cyclically also, generally speaking, in the midterms, most administrations, you see a power shift there in the midterm. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think all is lost at all.
And you live in the great state of New Jersey, which isn't exactly pro-2A, right?
No, this is one of the most unfriendly Second Amendment states. I feel like New Jersey is in a pissing contest with California, Hawaii, and New York. I feel like they all want to one-up each other. And speaking of Hawaii has been, there's been all kinds of litigation with Hawaii statutes and practices being smacked down left and right. So I've written about that in Bearing Arms as well. You can look that up, and Ammo Land. So there's all kinds of victories that are going on in these really bad states. It's just, it's not a matter of when. I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when these laws all get, usurped,
So as a result of your article about advocacy, now's the time. what is the most effective or important thing that, Joe Lunchbox or Jane Lunchbox can do? They're raising a family, they got kids, they got a spouse, they got a job. What's the most important thing, an effective thing that they can do to support the Second Amendment?
The easiest and the freest or the most inexpensive thing to do is to stay engaged with our legislators and write them, tell them what you think. Okay, so that doesn't cost us anything. At minimum, it'll cost us a stamp if we want to be fancy about it and send in a letter, which I recommend people do. I recommend sending in snail mail letters. I recommend people writing emails and write to your legislators about on the state and the federal level, letting them know your opinion, letting them know specifics about maybe different bills that are being introduced and why they should not vote for them. That is the easiest thing that could be done, and that does count. Now, whether or not they want to listen, that's a whole nother animal. But letting your voice be known is important because this is a republic, and if they're going to represent us, they need to know what we're thinking.
So hey, John, we're going to have you go ahead and hang on. We're going to bring you back. Got to take a quick break.
But there's a part of his terms and conditions for being on the show is he's going to be the answer guy. He's got to say the answer. I don't know if you knew
you're going to have him do that?
So he's been practicing all
Here
week.
we go. Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The answer.
PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Are you in the military looking for help for a VA loan? Well, if you're looking to buy or refi, or if you're just considering a reverse mortgage, call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Chris Wiley, 619-722-1303, or just go to primeres.com/Alpine.
So we're talking with John Petrolino. John, I got to tell you, we polled the everybody here in the studio, and out of 10, you got a 9.0 by everybody. The German judge gave you a 7. I don't know what happened there, but
oh well, that's opla di opla da.
All right, so you were just talking about an article you wrote that, hey, now's the time. Advocacy is important. That brings me to another article that you wrote where you're talking about Queensland in Australia. Talk a little bit about that because it's kind of, hey, this is what could happen if you don't get involved. This is a even worse than worst case scenario.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny because the article is Australian town wants to ban bows and arrows. And it was a report that I read, and I'm going through this. You've got to be kidding me. And the whole shtick is there was this area in North Queensland, and it seems like it's kind of like more Aboriginal people living there, and there's some sort of a familial spat between different families. Like you're talking about maybe some ancient stuff that goes way back. Like I don't really know all the particulars, but what was going on is they had this, the city council was, talking about trying to come up with a bow and arrow ban. Like they are legitimately, they were discussing banning of bow and arrows because they were having all of these archery related incidents or archery arrow violence, I guess, and these incidents of bowmen doing bowman stuff. And this is where you're at in Australia, where they've taken it to the nth degree, where they're talking about having archery equipment banned in certain jurisdictions because of bow violence.
Bow violence.
Well, I guess that's what it would be, right? Bow violence. If it's gun violence, and with guns, it should be bow violence, and then it's a bowman, right?
That sounds like some of the lamest violence I think I've ever heard of is bow. So in Australia, you're saying this is like Australia's version of like the Hatfields and the McCoys, and so they're.
I'm not. Maybe.
That's crazy. So is this real? Is this just a suggestion, or is this happening, or what are the chances of this going on? So
I mean, pretty much the city council and everybody that was involved came to the conclusion that this is outside of their jurisdiction, that this spat and where I guess it's happening. Because, they don't go like really, really, really deep in the article that I reference in here. It's just they're saying that one of the quotes was they said that incidents involving archery equipment were occurring on a weekly basis. They're involved with community unrest between various families. And then they go on to continue in saying some individual people can take it upon themselves to produce weapons during unrest. So one of the end-all things here is that they were saying is they're currently working with the elders and a partner agencies to address the issue, and that including mediation with elders and engagement with the families involved to calm the tension. So, like, I guess kind of read between the lines there. It's clearly an issue there, but again, they're going after the weapons. At least they're bringing forward these mediation efforts. And again, if that's effective, by all means, go forth.
They're not going after the criminal; they're going after the tool, the assault bow, I guess. Bow violence.
Right.
Remember when you were a kid? Remember the Punisher magazines? Remember the comic books, The Punisher? I'm pretty sure one of the bad guys he fought was bow violence. Like, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember, but that's ridiculous. How did you find? Now, obviously not from Australia. How did you trip across that story?
I actually subscribe to some Australian related sites so that I can get these ridiculous articles. So I can get this news. It was like their gun amnesty that they had. I mean, you'll see things that pop up in my writing. There are some of the frequent flyers in my work would be Hawaii, California, New Jersey, not as much New York as you would believe, but a little bit New York, Massachusetts for sure, and Australia. Like, I feel like I'm constantly writing about these areas with a bunch of other areas sprinkled in. And you look at the ridiculousness of the laws in these areas, and Australia is a prime example of why advocacy is so important.
Hey, John, were they talking about bow registration as a first step to controlling this bow violence crisis they have?
That's a question from Joe Violence.
I think they were just trying to bogart them.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so one of the other ridiculous things that popped up that I know you wrote about recently was how doctors are weighing in on firearms storage. Talk a little bit about that, because firearms storage and some of those ridiculous laws and some of the requirements actually are happening here in San Diego, in the city of San Diego particularly. And there was at least one physician, one medical doctor, who showed up and spoke at the city council meeting. And guess what? She was from Australia, by the way. So talk a little bit about that.
Nothing goes better than talking gun banning with such an accent. So this one was talking about a op-ed. There was this op-ed in a Tennessee newspaper, the Tennessean, which is a Gannett paper, which is USA Today, is their flagship piece, their flagship publication. And I get it. Like, I get the flavor of the sentiments, and these 6 physicians banded together to do this op-ed, and they're looking for funds to educate on the safe storage of firearms, which I think everybody here on this panel tonight discussing this on the show, yeah, that'd be great if the state ponied up funds to give out free firearm safety education, right? I think that would be cool, but the real thing is it's got to be by the people who know what they're doing. And you look at the American Academy of Pediatricians, and Dr. John Adine talks about this all the time, and it's also talked about in this article. And Dr. John, he's from Doctors for Responsible Gun Owners. He talks about this all the time and saying, like, the American Academy of Pediatricians, they say, okay, your safe storage of your firearm is the following. Firearm, unloaded in a locked container, ammunition in a separate locked container. So you want an unloaded firearm in a locked box and an ammunition in a separate container that's also locked, separate from the firearm. If anybody could tell me how that's going to be effective in a self-defense situation, I'm all ears.
You know, I want a doctor weighing in on my gun rights and weighing in on my gun storage habits and weighing in on firearms in general as much as any doctor wants me weighing in on, you know, the prescription strength of any drug. Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't want them anywhere near it.
We can jump on at WebMD, you know, and we could just go ahead and start giving out our diagnoses, you know.
That's right. I've had a cold before, so I think I know a little something about prescriptions, right?
Right, absolutely.
It makes about that much sense.
So I wouldn't have a problem for this. However, they go forward in talking about, again, the firearm separate from the ammunition, locked container. They don't go into the possibilities that, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Not every storage solution is perfect for every person or every family. There's no one size fits all. And they go in with biased language. I mean, the first thing, the teaser excerpt, and I'm sure this is from the editorial staff, was Tennessee's new permitless carry law that went into effect on July 1st carries hazards, especially for children and teens who may be tempted to misuse a firearm if it's not stored properly. Again, explain to me, anybody, how permitless carry translates to firearms not being stored properly.
Jeez. So
there's zero correlation there.
Yeah.
So, John, does anybody address, you know, when you hear these people talk about this stuff, I mean, you know, injuries and fatalities to children because of dumb gun owners, I guess, is, you know, it's tragic, but the numbers are, you know, less than 500, I think, a year is typically what we have with those kinds of fatalities out of 340 million people. I mean, it's tragic, but it's hardly a crisis that we have to scramble over. I mean, if you want to be more effective, why don't we deal with swimming pool deaths or something? Lots more kids die that way.
You hit the nail on the head. Toddler-aged children, I think, you know, even it's 0 to 4 or whatever the age range is, more children die in swimming pools than they do to firearms in that toddler age range. So, you know, a lot of towns require us to put fences around pool. That's safe pool storage, is it not? And yet these incidents happen.
Well, again, you can only legislate so far, too. I mean, some people are just, that's the way they are, and you can't fix some people. They're just not going to be responsible. But, I mean, you know, we go through these things, and you hear this bad information over and over again. We had the sheriff from L.A. County on here a couple of weeks ago quoting quoting that old debunked study about your, you know, if you have a gun in the house, you're 5 times more likely to shoot yourself with a gun or something like that. And it's like that thing's been debunked a million times, and yet they're still out there pushing that around.
Well, and doctors talking about this stuff. How many people die of medical malpractice every year?
Right, and that's something I talked about here. So and this quote, I got this from Dr. Robert B. Young, MD, also from Doctors for Responsible Gun Owners, and he gave me the following quote: 400,000 deaths, and he said, give or take 200,000, which is fine, right? So you're still at 200 to 600,000 deaths yearly due to healthcare provider mistakes. So these doctors that want to weigh in are killing 200 to 600,000 people a year due to malpractice. I think you need to stay in your lane and keep after your own house.
Wow. John Petrolino, awesome. I appreciate it so much. How do people find you?
JohnPetrolino.com is the easiest way to find everything John Petrolino, and there's a way to contact me there as well. For those of you who would like to contact me, I'm always looking for news tips.
You got to I'll tell you, we got a guy here in the studio, Brett. He's got a shirt with his face on it. We need a John Petrolino shirt with your face on it. I think that would be awesome.
I'm all game. We can make it happen.
We'd put a shirt with my face on it, but it'd have to be a really big shirt.
And it'd be really scary.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 AM. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.